I'm going to roll with the punches. This is my first time, so be gentle with me. We're not recording. We're recording. Aren't we?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I am ready when you guys are.
Are you ready now?
Sure.
This episode of Not My Podcast, Our Podcast is brought to you by the little ducklings that fall into the grate when their mother walks over a sewer drain. Duck moms can't count people.
Are they actually
that's an actual
sponsoring
thing.
us?
No.
Okay, so the ducks.
No, we're just trying to raise awareness. Every year, dozens of ducklings fall down. Baker's dozens of ducklings fall down sewers across the country.
It's a pandemic. No one's talking about it.
I mean, ducklings, people. What cuter animal is there than a duck? Like, if I was working for PETA and I was trying to make a commercial that tugged at heartstrings, besides having I will remember you, like that's got to be our soundtrack. Or In the Arms of the Angels.
Are these songs used by PETA?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with their marketing.
Well, I mean,
Okay.
they just like show like black and white pictures of dogs that like slowly like turn into slow motion. And you're like, is the dog dead?
I actually don't think that's PETA.
It's probably the Humane Society.
I was like, I think it's just like
Yeah.
people that really like animals. They're like, hey, let's put all these sad pictures of animals with sad music and let's get people to send us money for it.
Okay, actually, here's an interesting piece of wildlife conservation that we don't think about that, like ducklings falling into sewers, that is an actual problem. So, a lot of sea turtles, so they nest on beaches,
Mm-hmm.
but they orient themselves by the stars and by the moon and whatnot to get from the beach to the water when they hatch.
Oh, okay. So when they're actually like hatching on the beach.
The most vulnerable time in a sea turtle's life is the
journey.
The journey from the nest on the beach into the ocean. Because they can't move very fast, and there's predators, and
the people are skulking out for them.
Yeah.
Well, not people. Like, and not the people aren't like waiting. They're like, I'm ready to kill these little turtles.
So,
for the baby turtle pelts.
of course, because we all need that baby turtle coat that we all love.
Yeah.
I mean,
People are terrible.
Okay, I don't know where we're going.
so actually, light pollution is a problem, and so a lot of beaches that are close to cities, they have turtles that will go the wrong direction, and they will go in towards the city and then die, of course.
Get run over.
Yeah, get run over by a car.
Something like that, because the light pollution's so bad that they're like, well, I can't see anything, so I might as well go towards the light.
So how do you
true.
fix that? You don't.
There's no fixing it. It's all done. All right, so this is what's going to happen. Every month, all of the money made this episode is going to go to helping baby sea turtles turn the right direction and go towards the ocean instead of the cities. That is what we're going to do this out of the kindness of our hearts. We'll donate all of that money.
We will not be taking follow-up questions as to how we're going to facilitate that.
Or if any money comes from this podcast, which it doesn't at the moment. So
Right.
Maybe soon. Okay, well, welcome to episode 3, everyone. Again, I am Francisco.
I'm Eric.
And I'm Noah.
And so we have now our second guest on our podcast.
And we running with a theme. Noah, what are your thoughts on our podcast so far?
Oh, I think it's just splendid.
Oh, what was your favorite anecdote?
I have not listened to the first 2 episodes.
God damn it.
I am a terrible person, basically.
That is true. Noah is a pretty terrible person. We're
Yeah.
also sticking with the theme of that in the previous, so episode 1, we talked about Miles. We dropped Miles' name in the podcast. Episode 2, Miles shows up. Episode 2, we drop Noah's name in the podcast. Noah shows up. So who are we summoning for the next episode?
Satan.
Oh
Satan.
my.
You heard it here first. Episode 4, Satan.
So we do need to be respectful of Satan's of their choices. They them pronouns.
For Satan. I thought you were just going to get the local Comcast
Satine.
representative.
Satine.
Satine.
Is that like his first name? Is his name Satine Satan?
No,
Their
that's
first name.
That's Obi-Wan's.
Sorry, you're right.
Their
Their
first
first name. So it's Satine Satan. Middle name?
Probably.
I thought Satine was Obi-Wan's girlfriend and or the Duchess of Mandalore.
I mean,
I've seen one episode of Clone Wars, so I can't be any. Actually, no, that's not true. I think I watched like 5 episodes, and then I'm like, this is. I've heard early on it is very kiddie, and then it gets way better as it's gone.
It is a children's show.
So
So,
I watched like the first 5, and I couldn't.
So no, I want to tell you something.
oh, please do.
So Francisco and I this afternoon were brainstorming, and doing some prep work for this episode and what we
Right.
wanted to talk about, and we were like, "Oh, what does no one know a lot about?" And then my response was Star Wars, and lo and behold, you arrive wearing a Star Wars T-shirt.
I actually only own Star Wars T-shirts.
That's it. It's the only. So you own like multiple of all of these shirts too, I'm assuming.
No, see,
Well, the Star Wars market is so vast that you can have multiple wardrobes of individual Star Wars apparel.
I'm joking about only wearing or only owning Star Wars T-shirts, but I probably have enough to go
As long as you want with just
like maybe 2 weeks before we get
Jeez.
repeats. You know,
Yes, the first, again, brainstorming for this episode, the first thing he brings up is like, he knows a lot about Star Wars. And I'm sitting there thinking of like, how can we turn this into a single podcast episode? We had an idea. The problem is, so the idea we had is we were going to rank every
Piece of
canon
Star Wars media.
Star Wars
Oh, man.
from worst to best. And I think we counted that there's 15 different things right now.
so canon is that's difficult to define.
Disney defines their canon. They own Star Wars currently.
No, that's fair.
But if we take that, so we've got 9 episodes.
Well,
plus 2.
hold on. What are we saying about things that are like canon adjacent? Like, does the currently produced Lego properties count as canon?
Ooh.
I would define them. Me and my my brother gave me this term as canon adjacent because they're not canon.
I think Star Wars Visions might fall into that too. Have you watched any of that?
I have watched all of it. And yeah,
The paths that Star Wars could take but aren't taking.
well, I mean, they sort of took it.
Yeah, but they're not devoting
Right.
additional like
as much as we
resources.
want that first episode to be an entire thing.
That first episode was so cool.
Have you guys seen more than just that?
I've seen the first 3.
first 3.
I seen the first 2. Second one, really weird.
Was-
I didn't like it.
Was that the music one?
Yes.
I watched them all in one sitting, so I don't know if I remember exactly
Yeah,
which one is
the music
which.
one. The third one is the one with the brother and sister that are the twin Sith Lords.
That was probably my least favorite.
I liked it better than this music one, but the music
Really?
one was, I just didn't like how kitschy the music one was. It didn't fit the Star Wars universe.
Where is the spark of joy in your soul? Who squashed that out? Did you guys watch them in English or in Japanese?
I watched them in Japanese.
I first watched the first 2 episodes with a couple other people. We watched them in English, and then when we were rewatched them the other day, we watched them in Japanese.
Did you notice that Boba Fett is voice acted by, I'm going to say it wrong, but Tamara Morrison. I think it's Tamara.
I don't even know who that is.
It's Jango Fett in episode 2 and Boba Fett in The Mandalorian.
I did not notice that.
Yes. So same voice actor. I think he also did the voice of Boba Fett in the special editions of
Wait,
Star
you're saying
Wars
in
5.
the English version he's the voice, or in
Yes,
the Japanese?
not in the
version?
Japanese.
Okay.
Okay. I mean,
I thought I was about to be really impressed that he's
No,
voicing it in
as
Japanese.
far as I'm aware, he does not speak Japanese.
That would be really cool if he
Yes.
just straight up was like, I'm going to do the English and the Japanese voices for this.
I'm pretty sure tangential here, but Groot, whoever did the voice for that, who I can't remember who.
Vin Diesel?
I think Vin Diesel. I'm pretty sure he did all the languages
Yeah, I
because it's only one line.
Wow, that is.
Ich bin gut.
Yeah,
Did he really just like straight up go like
That
for
is
the
what
I
I-
am for the rest of it?
that's what I've heard.
That's funny.
You'll have to.
I was like, okay, I could see that happening because all you got to learn is 2 other words,
Yeah.
type of thing. That is cool. But yeah, that was our first initial idea of ranking all of them. The problem is,
We could try.
again, the problem is that me and Eric haven't watched some of them.
Oh,
Like I've never watched the Clone
Rebels.
Wars or Rebels or what's the new one?
other?
Bad Batch.
Bad Batch.
Well, and there's that the other one that's like I think it's on YouTube.
They released something on YouTube.
I could be wrong. It's animated.
Long story short, we haven't seen a lot of it.
Right.
Yeah,
There
and
is
so
a lot.
and so for some of them, you would have to be the only like person giving input on the ranking, and we're just like, this isn't going to really.
Which I would love. Because,
And speaking from experience, I don't trust your opinions.
I mean, me either. So
But yeah, we did come up with another
Okay,
topic.
no, I have a comment I want to make.
okay.
So I know you love this movie,
Oh no.
but we could retitle the movie Lady Hawk as Ferris
Oh.
Bueller goes to medieval England,
As
because
Ferris Bueller's Medieval Day Off.
Ferris Bueller's Medieval Day Off, and it is like such like, I know you love that movie, but I don't get it.
I mean, it might be a stretch to say that I love it. I do like it. It's also probably been like 5 years since I've seen it.
I mean, impressive that it has been. I mean, I don't think I've seen it since I was like 12.
So it falls into that category of cheesy 80s movie, and I think it's hardly the most cheesy 80s movie I will show
Legend.
for. Legend is up there amongst the most
Dark
cheesy.
Crystal.
Dark Crystal is whimsical. Dark Crystal has
the
amazing
whimsy.
puppetry. Dark Crystal has a
That's
very
true. You get that Jim Henson vibe from
it has a very well formed aesthetic. It's a unique IP.
but Legend.
I think Dark Crystal holds up better than stuff like Legend or Lady Hawk. I don't know.
Labyrinth holds.
Labyrinth holds up.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I was saying. It was like that same kind of.
I guess the key is to have puppets.
I mean, Star Wars.
Also has puppets. Well, presumably some.
Star Wars. Yoda's a puppet.
Well, yeah, that's true. Also, what's his name? Salacious B. Crumb, I believe.
Who?
You know Jabba?
Yeah.
You know his monkey lizard?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do.
We would have to Google it to fact check me on this, but I'm relatively sure his name is Salacious B. Crumb.
Is he related to Victor Crumb?
I don't know who that is.
How do you
Harry
not
Potter,
know?
dude.
Victor Crumb.
Triwizard Wizard
Oh,
Tournament.
Okay.
The seeker for Bulgaria.
My
the one
mistake.
who goes to the Yule Ball with fucking Hermione, dude.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Okay, so off tangent. I'm in the middle of reading Harry Potter right now. I am in the 4th book. I am reading the Yule Ball right now, type of thing. I already know what happens. I've watched the movies tons of times, but Harry Potter, man, that is a great one.
Noah, you look.
I will say that as time has gone on, my appreciation for some things like Star Wars has deepened as I've come set in my ways. Harry Potter, I dressed up as Harry Potter every year for like 5 years as a child. But I don't know. I'm over it.
Okay, but okay, let me say this. Yes, I'm not a Potterhead.
Right.
But I still appreciate the quality of film adaptations that they are.
I don't think that's a universally endorsed opinion, but I agree with it generally speaking.
It's mostly universally endorsed. I have the biggest Potterhead of a sister, who generally likes the movies too. Obviously, she wishes there was more stuff in there. She talks
Right.
about it a lot, but again, to put it into a movie, you do have to just cut some stuff out.
Well, and I will say I feel like there's a pretty distinct tonal shift in fidelity of the movies around like movie 3, where whoever they got to direct movie 3 was like, yeah, they're not going to wear robes anymore.
Yeah. we're done with that type of thing. But what? Okay, so what is it about Harry Potter that you're just like not a fan of anymore?
Well, I don't know. That's a good question. J.K. Rowling has become less and less popular as she alienates everyone on all sides of every political line.
Okay, I understand that as a reason to but
I wouldn't say that's my main reason.
so here let me take it to a different extreme.
Mm.
So at the end of her life, Harper Lee released a sequel to To Kill a Mockingbird,
Okay, good. We all know who that
in
is.
which
I'm like, wait, what did Harper Lee write?
Who's Harper Lee?
I'm like, I should know that name.
wait, is that the announcer in Harry Potter?
Okay.
That was a joke because it's Lee Jordan.
It is Lee Jordan. Wow, you remember a lot of.
For
I know
those-
you're currently reading this slowly too, but you
Are you?
remember a lot.
Is there any major fantasy series you aren't slowly working your way through right now?
Those are the only two. No, you knew that. So I'm listening to Return of the King because I absolutely love Tolkien, and Tolkien is one of the like my guilty pleasure. And then pretty much every few books that I read, I'm throwing in a Harry Potter one in German, just because I really like having that listening to German aspect, because it's just keeping my German up.
Right. No, that's fair.
And Harry Potter is something that I'm familiar with enough that
it's easy.
It's easy and fairly, though the second book was much harder than the first. And I expect that will continue throughout, which is good for me.
Yeah. But at least that way you don't get so hung up on the vocab that you can't follow the story.
Yeah, it's like I'm not going to listen to the German audiobook of The Lord of the Rings because I'm not insane.
Right. Yeah, that'd be crazy.
I mean, there's already sections where Rob Ingalls, the narrator, is reading in Elvish, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, now imagine throwing in words that Tolkien's making up, and now I'm like, wait, do I not know the word? Or is this a Tolkien word?
Yeah, that'd be tough.
So, yeah. I mean, that's...
No, but wait, hold on. Go back to Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay, oh, yeah. So... At the end of her life, Harper Lee released a book, and some people, it's kind of questionable whether or not her publisher kind of strong-armed her into it, as she was really old and maybe not completely still like there, just with become Alzheimer's and kind of things. And so it may be that she never really wanted it published, which is why it took so long. Because she only published one book in her life. And then, she published 2 books in her life, but separated by like 60 years.
She only wrote To Kill a Mockingbird, and that's it?
Yeah. From what I understand, she wasn't expecting it to explode like it did, and she was a very reserved person. And so she kind of just was like, I don't want this attention.
Talk about one-hit wonders. You don't really talk about that with books, but wow.
Yeah.
What a one-hit wonder.
So in the sequel book, it comes out that Atticus Finch who is the lawyer in To Kill a Mockingbird who defends the black man, he doesn't actually care about civil rights. He cares about being a good lawyer. And so he gets appointed as because constitutionally, if you can't afford a lawyer, the court will provide you one. And so he gets appointed to that position, and he is not going to lose the case because that's not the kind of lawyer he is. He's not defending the black man because he cares.
Right.
But does that later, like, knowledge about the author or what she thought or stuff like that, does that discount the power that society has given to Atticus Finch? Because Atticus Finch is like this...
I think it's important for me to throw out at this juncture that I have not read
Okay, regardless.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
I have not either. I know the general kind of
story.
Right.
Black guy, court, lawyer, Atticus Finch.
Thank you.
Civil rights movement. There you go.
It's surprising that I feel like most people have to read it in public education. So
I didn't have to read it in public education.
You're just well read. Props to you.
I try.
He does try.
I've been trying really hard to pick up classics that I've missed.
I know we want to talk about reading on a future podcast, so I'll save it more for then. But even all of the books I was supposed to read in high school.
Oh no.
Well, supposed to. Well, stretching.
I would say also, like, I didn't have to read Great Gatsby in school. I would have hated it if I had to read it in school.
It really is. It was.
I read it
bad in high school.
Yeah, I read it under my own volition, and so I got to enjoy it under my terms.
I feel that way also about Mark Twain. We're terrible at talking about movies, but Mark Twain, fun to read for yourself.
Yeah,
but when picked apart by a high school curriculum.
Okay, like, let me complain about Mark Twain for just a second, because isn't the dedication of Huck Finn to anyone who tries to see a moral in this, like, fuck them?
I think it says that they will be prosecuted. Also, we were in that same high school class, so that is where I was going with that.
Yep.
Yeah, he asked us to write what we thought about that intro statement, saying not to analyze it, which was
I don't.
No, I can't discount Stewart because he was actually an excellent teacher.
Really?
Yeah. No, that was Miller. Never mind. We're good. No,
Different teacher did not like him.
No, yeah. Then I switched because I hated that class so much. I switched to the other English teacher, and then I never had any other English teacher through high school because I forced myself into his classes.
Interesting.
So going full circle. So like, is it really fair to Harry himself, the character,
Right.
and the love and the funness that there is? The fact that we don't like necessarily everything that J.K. Rowling has done in the last 10 years.
No, I don't think it
Should that
changed.
discount your love of a really good story?
No, I don't think it does.
So that was me the Atticus Finch route was me saying, here's an extreme.
I think it depends. I will like if there is a publisher or a company. I see this a lot with video games in modern times where a video game publisher will get into trouble in the media for some scandal or the other. I don't think there is anything wrong with choosing not to support their future efforts.
True.
I don't think you should financially support individuals or companies that you disagree with. I think that's fair.
But does that mean I am not going to enjoy my copy
No.
of Harry Potter that I have had for the last 20 years?
No, I don't think it does. I think the reason I'm not as big of a Harry Potter fan now as I was then is because it hasn't continued to resonate with me
As an adult. I would agree with that. Is that I feel like it does feel a little bit, I mean, it's a book about teenagers.
Yeah, it's a book about a teenager kind of growing up type
Yeah.
of thing. That's a very big oversimplification of it.
And I say at least with you and me, because we read it as teenagers, like we grew up with Harry.
Yes.
And so it's weird to go back a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm kind of enjoying it a lot right now, is because I never read the books
Yeah.
as a kid. I watched all the movies. I loved all the movies. But like reading it now, it's just, I don't have that thought of like, oh, I really like this as a kid, and now I'm coming here, and it's like, I don't have that feeling of like, oh, I guess I don't like this as much as I did before, and kind of having that little disconnect.
Right. Because it's new and fresh to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's new and fresh. I get all the behind the scenes in all the books now.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Okay, so in this lull, I'm going to take a minute to talk about, or just to invite, or introduce the multiple media outlets that you can find this podcast on.
Oh my.
oh, we did not talk about this. Good job.
I got you. So if you want to watch this podcast, there is a video up on YouTube at some point. It should be released the same day, maybe a couple hours different, but there should be a episode of it up on YouTube. So just find our channel, not our podcast.
There you go.
Or not my podcast, our podcast.
There we
excuse
go.
me. And then every podcasting service that money
All
can
the
buy.
podcasting services.
All the podcasting services, at least the main ones.
And we also have a TikTok. And so if you go on TikTok to @ourpodcast_, you can see some of the clips there. By the time you're watching this, you should be able to see some of the clips from episode 2 on there. We will also have an Instagram, which is not currently made yet, but you will also see things on there. We'll put all the links in the description of all of the podcast, the like episode links and stuff like that for all the podcast websites. Should have all that. Same thing with like YouTube and everything. Also, we want to talk about, we literally talked about this before the podcast of mentioning it, and we didn't. We want to hear what you guys have to say.
True.
We have an email, and we want to hear what all of you have to say, either comments about the podcast, about previous podcasts.
Ideas for future episodes, things that you'd like to hear us talk about.
We need you to fact check everything we've said.
Yeah, if you want to complain about something we said, please.
If I got the name of
We probably
Salacious
will
B.
laugh at you and
Crumb
not
wrong, let me know.
I was gonna put that on Eric, because Eric's the one who edits the video. I was gonna say make Eric go back to that part and literally fact check it at that point and put it in the video for it. But I didn't want to throw that on Eric. But now that I am throwing it on you, it's there.
Fuck you.
But yeah, so we want to different ideas that you guys have. We come up with ideas on our own, but again, this is our podcast. You, the listener, is also a part of us. You're a part of our here. It's very inclusive that we want. So yeah, send us an email. Not my podcast, our podcast @gmail.com. Overly long because it's funny.
You know, this is probably going to bite us in the ass in a couple years.
Why?
Because we're going to have to like fill out a form, and they'll be like, Your email, like we're limiting your characters on your email.
I don't think you want to be doing business with anything that has a character limit on email addresses.
It's true.
It's like my bank. It has a character limit on the passwords.
I find that so dumb. That there are multiple different places that are like, your password's too long. And it's like, let me make it as long as I can. Isn't longer, not always typically, but isn't longer
No.
safer?
Longer is the most... The
it's-
best way to increase password complexity is length.
But you can't just make it like, I can't do like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, and do that. Because
Well,
it's
I
like,
think-
Well, largely because you can't include a song as your password.
you're right. If I could get the whole like beat and everything to go with it. that
All
would
the
be cool.
cadence, like you voice print it where you have to sing the ABCs to get into your bank account.
I don't expect banks to have the infrastructure for that, but I think they probably have the money to store passwords longer than like 10 characters.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So on this episode, we decided that we were going to talk about controversial movie opinions.
Yes.
And I know Francisco's got a few spicy takes prepared.
All right. We're getting into it. So I went through today, once we decided we're doing controversial movie opinions. I have lots of controversial opinions. So I was trying to narrow mine down for everything. I have them listed here on my phone. So do we want to start from most spicy and go to least? Nah, we're gonna start from
Fuck
least.
no, we start with least spicy.
We got to ramp up the spice.
Okay, so
You got to tell a story. You got to get to that rising action until we can climax at the end.
exactly. Okay, so this is my
Hi,
one.
I'm Eric, and I'm 14.
We are all 14 deep down inside. Okay, this is.
We all have a 14-year-old inside of us.
Oh God.
All right, and take number one. Hot take number one. Let's continue.
No, we're keeping this all in. We're fine. Okay, this is take number one of my controversial takes. This is the only one that has to deal with actual movies. The rest of them have to deal with TV shows.
I feel like that's
Controversial-
cheating, but okay, we'll allow it.
For what?
Eric picks the topic of controversial movie takes. Francisco finds a dozen TV hot takes.
We said film, and I am throwing TV in film because you're filming it.
Well, you know.
I could make controversial YouTube takes on this logic.
Okay, so controversial take. This is a film. 'cause
All right,
we're
wait.
filming it.
Hold on. Pause.
there you go.
A lot of television.
But is it
I'm
a
not
sport?
an expert on this, but a lot of times television is filmed, or at least originally was filmed digitally and not on film,
Ooh,
because it was a different storage type that was easier to then rebroadcast. Only really high budget stuff was filmed on 35 millimeter.
and then scanned in.
And well, I'm not an expert of like old timey production stuff,
True,
but yeah,
true.
some sort of, they very rarely would they do it on 35 millimeter and then have to go through the process of broadcasting that when they could record it with a camera that could essentially then just. So I'm saying you're still wrong, but we'll allow
I
it.
might be wrong. I'm wrong a lot. Okay. Controversial take number one. And this is mostly controversial for a lot of people similar to our age.
Okay.
Because nostalgia is a thing.
Nostalgia's a bitch.
Now, in our lifetime, we have had 3 different Spider-Men.
Oh no.
Oh fuck! I was thinking this exact same thing. This is the
Of-
one that I was bringing to the table.
Of the 3 Spider-Men,
Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire,
Tobey Maguire.
Andrew Garfield,
Tobey Maguire.
and Tom Holland.
I'm glad that Eric feels passionately about this because meh.
So, here's my controversial opinion. Tobey Maguire is not the best one.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Tom Holland is the best Spider-Man that we have ever seen. Additionally, Spider-Man Far From Home, the last Spider-Man movie that just released with Tom Holland, is also the best Spider-Man movie we have ever gotten.
This episode is sponsored by Marvel.
Okay, this is the start of our Marvel
I mean,
take.
we all knew it was coming.
I was
Like,
like,
it's
there has to be-
2021. You can't like talk about movies without bitching about Marvel. At some point.
I was gonna say hating on Marvel is what's popular right now.
Which is why the controversial one is that I am praising Marvel for both of these opinions.
Okay, so can I? I'm going to ask you permission, but can I make a comment on this?
Yes, you can. That's the whole
Thank
reason.
you, Francisco.
this is our podcast.
You get it. He gets it, people.
He's got it. He's caught on quick. He hasn't watched the first 2 episodes, but
No.
he's caught on.
Yeah,
No.
it didn't take long.
So your hot take.
My hot take. Okay, so the thing is, And I came prepared with this nuance. Tobey Maguire is fucking old.
He is.
You mean now or at the time of filming?
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
He looks like he's 35 trying to play a 17-year-old high school kid.
I agree with that.
If you can get past that.
That's a big if.
I know, and I understand that, but like, I feel like, in the comics, Spider-Man is so awkward. That's his whole thing, is he's like making bad puns. He's like, just like this nerdy ass kid who can't talk to girls. And Tom Holland is slick and hot.
I will say, I don't even know if I've sat down and watched through the first 3 Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans. I think I was a little too young. Somehow I missed that train.
Yeah. No, you were, like Spider-Man 3 came out when we were about 13 or 14.
Right.
I don't even think it was. I don't think we were that old. I'm gonna guess we were like 10 when Spider-Man 3 came out.
I saw it in Utah, so we were older.
Ooh, okay.
The second guy, what's his name?
Andrew Garfield.
I think.
I will say that Andrew Garfield never felt nerdy enough to be Spider-Man for me.
That is a typical opinion that most people have about Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
He felt like a hipster, and then they threw in like nerdy moments that felt wrong. They didn't feel like him.
Yes.
Correct. There is a scene where Peter Parker, Andrew Garfield, is like skateboarding and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, this is a little too cool for a Peter Parker to be.
Well, because the whole point was that he's an awkward, clumsy kid that then his superpowers make him slick and smooth and he can,
Exactly.
So yeah, that never felt right to me. I'm not necessarily saying that they may have gone a little too hard on that in the Tobey Maguire movies from what I've seen.
Okay, so
but
here's my other thing. So the thing that people forget at this point. So what superhero movie was topping the box offices before the first Tobey Maguire Spider-Man?
Superman?
No.
I don't know.
No. The answer is nothing.
That's what I was going to say. I was like, it was really the first one that showed that superhero movies can work.
So, I mean, it's often cited that the Marvel, superhero craze is with 2009's Iron Man.
2008, I believe. You'll tell us if we're wrong in the comments.
I'm going with no. I think it's also 2008.
I'm fairly confident because I always say
I know
2008's Iron Man. I don't know why.
I said 2009 just to bug you.
Oh, okay.
Because I know you always say that. You noticed that I said it in your prose there.
I guess it is silly for me to specify the year because there's not.
You always say 2008's Iron Man.
There's not another Iron Man that you have to specify.
There's
sequels, Iron Man 2,
which was
3.
Not as good.
So people say that's where the MCU started. But I'd argue that, or even that the superhero movie era started then. But I'd argue that it started with Spider-Man 1 and 2 literally being some of the highest grossing movies of all time.
Yeah.
So everything that we think of now as cliche, and we're like, I can't watch the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans because they're so every trope is in them. But that's because they weren't cliches yet.
That's fair. I think there's valid critiques of the movies.
They're not perfect.
Right.
But I appreciate the Peter Parker that they attempted to create. And I think a lot of the problem is that Tobey Maguire probably looked like he was 35 on his 12th birthday.
I was like, I think he was 30 when the first Spider-Man release. But
wow.
I'm going to have an argument for what you said is that while Tobey Maguire looks more awkward than Tom Holland is super awkward when he's acting.
That's true.
It's like, yeah, Tom Holland himself, when you're first thinking of what does Spider-Man look like, he looks a little too cool for what he is. But he does a great job of acting. And number 2, acts like a kid, which is what Spider-Man is.
Wrong.
What?
So there are 2 Spider-Man narratives that were written.
There are now
well, there's many. There's many. But there are 2 the first Spider-Man was more like that. They followed more of that in the Tobey Maguire series.
Okay.
Where he finishes high school, then he marries MJ. And so he's trying to balance these interpersonal relationships and a job working at the pizza place. It's pizza time. My rainy meme people get that.
I do get it.
Like that was Spider-Man. He was this young guy battling all of that. He was an adult, and then they went back and restarted the timeline and had him in high school.
Yeah, I think we'd have to Wikipedia it, but I think that's about right.
I always thought of Spider-Man as like a kid, like a teenager type of thing. That's how I always imagined Spider-Man from all of the different stuff.
I think different comic book series were popular at different points. So depending on what age you started reading Spider-Man and which one you happened to pick up first, you were either reading one where he was like you said, a young adult.
Or not even pick up Spider-Man, but watch cartoons too.
True. Because there's like at least some of the runs I've read, he's like a high school teacher.
Yeah.
So those are later ones, presumably.
And so I'm gonna go into my second argument of that Spider-Man Far From Home is also the best Spider-Man movie.
Oh, I agree with that actually.
Do you actually?
Yeah.
That is a very controversial one. You don't like it?
Far From Home. Let's make sure I'm not saying something totally wrong. Far From Home is the most recent one.
Yep.
They go to Europe.
Where they're in Europe.
Yep.
And that's the second one.
That is the second one.
It's got that one actor whose name I can't remember.
Yeah, the villain.
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal.
How do you not remember Jake Gyllenhaal?
I feel like the first one was better.
Okay.
And I think the reason why, I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on why. The first one felt very it hit all of the classic riffs of what a Spider-Man movie should be. The second one was very, I don't know. I felt like kind of like they tried to shove the bigger MCU into it. Whereas the first one was more standalone, simple.
Yeah. I like it a lot because I think the awkward teenage romance of
I think that's
MJ,
fun.
Yeah, I was like, it's hilarious. Everyone has been in this type of situation before when they were a kid where it's like, yeah, I get this type of thing. So, okay, not like, oh, I'm Spider-Man. Not like that.
To be fair, I don't know what it's like to have a teenage romance because I didn't have any.
Oof. Well, we don't have time to unpack all of that.
But again, like everyone has their crushes. Like trying to talk to your crush in high school, it's a tough thing when you're that age.
So my response to that is, I feel like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans tried to follow the initial like who Spider-Man was originally, which is why I like how Tobey Maguire portrays Spider-Man, and why I really appreciate what they did.
Yeah,
and why I like those movies, even though I don't watch them maybe once every 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
I would much rather watch a Tom Holland Spider-Man movie because he's way more entertaining.
He's a really good actor.
He's a really good actor, but I don't think that he portrayed the original Spider-Man to the same level. So I feel like at this point, like I'm the one with the controversial opinion.
Yeah.
But I really don't think, at least for people our age, I think most people agree with you.
Okay.
My argument for that is that it's more nostalgia. But I do agree with a lot of your opinions.
Yeah.
I still just...
that's the thing. Is I would say that the Tom Holland Spider-Mans are more entertaining and better films.
I will say I have no nostalgia for the first 3 movies, and I'm pretty much burnt out of anything MCU at this point. Like I'm hard pressed to watch anything that came out since Endgame because
that was the Endgame.
It was the end of that.
There's a reason it said "end" in the title.
Well, and there's been very little in the way of fresh new ideas. I feel they've kind of.
I wouldn't know.
You're right. Yeah, that's true. I suppose I might be doing them a disservice.
I've started watching some of the TV show. So I've watched
I watched WandaVision.
I watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I watched Loki.
Well, and
okay, well, what's your take on all of those? Because I watched WandaVision, but I was like,
well,
I didn't like the pacing in WandaVision.
Let me say what I feel about WandaVision because that's the only thing I've seen.
Okay.
The first couple of episodes were really fun.
Yeah.
They were interesting.
They were different.
They were
new.
It did fun things where they explored, I don't know, not genres, but they kind of went through
the whole like sitcoms era stuff.
Heavily stylized stuff.
Yeah.
Once they once again, they just started shoving the MCU like formula into it. And I realized that this is like the popular edgelord thing to say, but I don't know. It's just like we all knew exactly how it was going to play out.
This episode, the controversial movie opinions episode, where we just give our normal movie opinions that everyone agrees with.
Everyone agrees with.
So I'll say this. So there's 9 episodes in WandaVision.
Okay.
The first 7 I thought were great.
Yeah.
At the end of 7,
Yeah.
I'm not going to spoil anything for someone that hasn't watched it. They introduce a character that completely derails kind of the whole
That's true.
the whole sub storyline that they were building for the entire time.
Yeah.
I wanted them to keep pushing that, and they didn't. And so I was like, I left WandaVision disappointed. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just okay. I liked it.
I feel like there's themes they could have explored more in WandaVision that I would have liked. I don't know how spoilery this gets, but no, I don't think this is a spoiler. You know, Vision's kind of like what it is to be human, what it is, and like they touch on it, and there's a couple of cool moments, but they mostly gloss over it while everybody's just punching people in the face.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah, there's the one sub storyline that they were pushing with Wanda for the entire start of it,
Yeah.
and then kind of ditched at the very end. Again, I can't say it, otherwise it will spoil part of the show. I wish they would have. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I thought was good. I liked it just because I still like the Marvel stuff. I still enjoy it.
Oh, that's fair. You're right.
I mean, that's not to say I don't enjoy it. I'm just kind of like done.
Done with it.
Yeah, like
I'll say this: Loki.
I've heard good things about
Actually,
Loki.
the best one of the 3 so far. Actually,
Interesting.
really enjoyable. Owen Wilson.
Wow.
Wow.
I have never
Wow.
seen him in a serious role. Kills it. He does great in that show.
Interesting. I mean, this is how people got me to watch WandaVision is they're like, no, this is finally actually good content.
And the
then
thing
I
is,
watched it.
And with Loki, if you are gonna get back into the Marvel everything at some point, Loki is gonna have a much bigger impact on the everything moving forward from here on out.
I guess I've just always been confused with Loki. Like, pick a lane, buddy. Like, come on.
That is kind of true.
But that's
Like-
Loki's shtick.
It kind of is, but it just
Wait,
feels...
you're telling me you want Loki to be more of a flat character?
No, that's not. No, I feel like they play him up to be an evil villain when it's convenient,
Yeah.
and they play him up to be an attractive, popular actor when it's convenient.
Yeah.
And there's no...
I would say he's a flat character with a rounded script, and the character doesn't fit the roles that they put him in.
There just doesn't seem to be consistency to his character.
Well, there isn't in the comics or even in mythology.
Well, that's fair. So maybe he's doing a great job, and I'm
Like-
just uncultured.
Like you look at the mythology of what Loki does. Loki causes Ragnarok
Which
indirectly.
he
but-
does in the movies as well.
Kinda?
Does he?
kind of.
I don't remember. Where everyone's just going to be like, "Wow, these people don't actually know anything."
They don't
about
know
the MCU.
anything.
I mean, if we knew everything,
Then,
Then-
what? I was like, where are you gonna go with this?
I don't know. I guess I don't feel like any sort of character growth they've tried to give to Loki has had any
Has
real
stuck.
significant payout.
I
Do you feel like they do him a better service in the show?
It's 6 episodes, so some of it feels a little rushed.
Okay.
But I'm interested to see where they go with him from here because I feel like it actually having an actual TV show for him to kind of like go on this little journey type of thing actually does his character good.
Okay.
Because I guess like if they released a Marvel movie instead of the show and they just like shot Loki in the head and moved on with the storyline, I don't know that I would care.
I mean, they did that in Infinity War.
I was like, that's kind of what happens.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing is like I don't care.
Yeah.
It was like, oh no, Loki's dead.
Oh, what you mean that guy that literally just backstabs us every single time and we keep involving him because we're dumb?
I mean, that being said, I did appreciate in Thor Ragnarok when Thor was talking with Loki and he's like, no, I'm done. Like, you've stabbed me in the back at every corner, and it's just like, I don't think this is gonna work.
Ragnarok is really good, partly because I'm just
Taika Waititi.
gonna shill for
Taika.
Taika Waititi.
All right. So
Okay, but before we get to our next movie take, which is I think where you're going,
I was gonna go.
pee break.
You want to do a pee break? You gotta
All right,
go.
let's do a pee break.
Sure.
All right, doing a pee break, guys.
Cut.
All right, we're back from our pee break, guys. great pee break. Hopefully, we still have the same cutout card. Maybe it might be a little updated this time.
Wait, are you like implying that I'm gonna do more work?
Yes.
Fuck.
I'm gonna see what Eric can come up with this time. I loved Noah. How'd you love the cutout card from last episode?
Truly, I didn't see it. I don't know.
It is so.
It's a segue.
It is a segue, and it's so terribly great.
I did see it. It was sent to me with no context, and I just now know what it is.
Now it makes sense.
Not only was it a segue, but it also had the Monty Python intermission music into it.
Can you do that? Is that licensed?
Absolutely.
But also,
Well,
I think you can use like up.
We'll be right back after we study
Copyright law.
Copyright law for 4 years.
And at the end of the day, as of right now,
I do believe that Eric Idle would be okay with my funny use of his song.
There you
probably.
go. So we're all covered, legally speaking.
All covered. If he's fine with it, everything's good. No one can say anything. All right.
No, Eric Idle, member of Monty Python, one of the founding members of Monty Python.
Right.
If you code in Python, the initial or the most basic coding box is called the idle, named after Eric Idle of Monty Python, because Python's not named after snakes; it's named after Monty Python.
I did know that. A lot of the help pages, they always do like different Monty Python references for it, and I think it's
great.
hilarious.
There you go. Fun facts.
All right, we're going next controversial opinion. So Noah,
Monty Python is shit.
wow, that would be a controversial opinion. I know
I did very much disagree.
I was
with
like,
that.
I know you don't believe that, but that would definitely have some hot like.
Yeah, we're only going to engage with that if you're willing to defend it, and I don't think that you are.
I don't think you are either. All right, Noah.
I watch Flying Circus for fun.
All right, we're going to you, Noah. What do you got?
I probably should have written down how I wanted to phrase this.
Phrasing.
But and I think it's important to first put throughout the disclaimers of where I'm coming from. This is going back to Star Wars because it's the only thing I'm actually passionate about.
Of course,
and Firefly.
That's true. As somebody that is a hardcore original trilogy shill and a sometimes prequel hater and frequent sequel hater, that's where I stand. That you know where I stand. But now here's my hot take. I don't think it's super fair to hate on especially the sequel films for plot reasons if we're just going to gloss over some of the pretty terrible writing of 4, 5, and 6.
Wait, what the fuck?
Specifically, are we going to ignore the fact that episode 6, the entire plot of episode 6 is we're just gonna do the Death Star again?
I'm shook. This was not the Star Wars take I was expecting you to make.
Which is why I brought it to the table, because I feel like I said, come on, how many of our hot takes have been hot takes? So let me elaborate a little bit.
But before you elaborate, at this point, I agree with you.
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
Too.
Okay, guys. We're supposed to be bringing. I thought that would be super controversial.
Okay,
Noah, you're the Star Wars fan. You're the one who's supposed to be defending Star Wars.
No, I know.
To all of the people watching this or listening to this, that is a controversial opinion.
It is.
I think so. Well, and because Star Wars Episode 4. Well, 1977 Star Wars.
Okay.
Not even Episode 4 yet.
Because.
Not even A New Hope.
Not even A New Hope, but 1977 Star Wars. I think we can forgive any and all sins because it was genre defining.
It was
not only that, the movie George Lucas tried to make is vastly different than the movie that came out. So we got lucky.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yes, it ripped off a lot of things like 1965's Frank Herbert's Dune, but Star Wars was a technological marvel, and it's what got a lot of people that are currently in film into film.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't think anyone can deny how much of a cultural and huge phenomena 1977 Star Wars was.
Right. So that's not a hot
objective.
Take. And then Episode 5 is my favorite Star Wars episode.
Again, agree.
But there isn't really any plot to 5. Like, what happens?
I mean, Luke trains.
Luke trains with Yoda, which is cool. But then episode 6, which is supposed to be the culmination of the Star Wars trilogy, as they like to spice it up in like the makings of and stuff. What? They're like, we've been secretly constructing
A
Death
second
Star
Death.
2.
Wow.
And we're going to do the Star Wars trench run again.
because people
But
complain.
it's more Star Wars trenchy. Yeah.
And Ewoks.
Again, that is super. I've never thought of that because one of the biggest complaints people have with 7 is they're like, well, they're just ripping off the Death Star, and it's like, well, yeah, I guess episode 6 also just ripped off the Death Star.
What could be more Star Wars than ripping off the Death Star?
That is true.
Okay, so here's a comment I want to make. So, a few years ago, I sat down with my friend Jeremy, who you know.
Yep.
And I think I've said the name before around
Yep.
you. But he and I sat down because he had never seen any of the Star Wars growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And so he came over and we watched episode 4.
Did he hate them?
No.
Oh, okay.
He watched it and went, I see why people love that. That's a terrible film.
Uh,
But that was fun. Like, the thing is, like, even episode 4, there's sections that are cringy. There's sections where the acting's god-awful. But we love them because they're amazing. And so at the end of the day is like, I'm going to... Here's my controversial Star Wars opinion.
okay.
Apparently, I have one, which I didn't think I did. But this is my controversial Star Wars opinion. Is that every generation has their trilogy that they love that's awful. None of the Star Wars trilogies are good.
Well, it depends. Good is a really subjective thing.
Okay, yes. But like, if you were a critic, would you watch episode 5 and go, this is the best film ever made?
I think 5 holds up to closer scrutiny better than most of them.
Oh,
That's why I
it holds up
think
out of all the movies. It holds up the best.
Yes,
out of
but
all
it's
of them.
still not one that you can in good conscience say, like, this holds up with Gone with the Wind, or...
I like 5 a lot more. I think 5 holds up way better than 4, way better than 6.
But would you say that it's, like... Man, this is going to come out the most pretentious thing ever.
Okay, go for it.
So I'd say there's, like... Okay, follow me for a second.
You think it's not like artsy enough or not like technical enough? Because I think it's got those all covered.
I'm realizing in my head that my opinion
You picked
is...
a terrible option. You could have. There's like
Well,
what?
I think I know kind of where
There's
you're going.
8
with
other
this.
movies.
So I don't know when this movie came out. When did The Shining come out? Was it about that same time as the first Star Wars?
No, later than that, I
You think so?
We'd have to Google it.
Okay, but kind of on the same opinion. It's like, okay, I look at The Shining and I'm like, wow, I watched The Shining for the first time like a year and a half
Yeah,
ago.
me too. We watched it together.
I thought The Shining's great. I understand why some people think it's like one of the greatest movies
Yeah.
of all time. I don't look at the like Star Wars Episode 4 or Star Wars Episode 5 in that same light. Because in my head, it's like put in a different category of like,
Yeah.
this is like
It's
action-y.
a fun, like,
yeah.
campy movie.
It's like-
Whereas Silence of the Lambs, which I watched like a month and a half ago, incredible. One of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's I think Star Wars can fit in the same category as like
I wouldn't say I had as much fun in Silence of the Lambs as I do watching a Star Wars movie. But if I'm going into a theater to see a Star Wars movie, I'm not expecting to see something that's making me like think or making me appreciate like the depth of a character.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
It's fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't think Star Wars has ever tried to be anything else.
I think it's good that they're fun, and I think some of them are more or less well executed from a technical standpoint.
Yeah.
And to conclude my hot take, I will say I think people's opinions of 7, 8, and 9 will be decided by people
In 10 years.
in 10 years.
Well, I mean, you look at the prequels, it's the same thing.
Right.
We love the prequels now.
Yes.
We hated the prequels when they came out.
Yeah, generally. Yep. But they've over time they've gotten a following.
People hated it 5 when it came out.
Yeah.
So I've heard. There's always going to be a critic that comes out and says this new movie that came
Okay,
out was terrible.
You know that when I say people hated 5, it wasn't the critics. It was fucking everyone.
Well,
you
Star Wars
know
fans.
that.
Because it's like, hey,
The
Darth Vader won. Well, like, what the hell kind of thing?
Well,
is that?
Star Wars fans are terrible.
Well, okay. To all of the future Star Wars fans out there, step 1 to be a Star Wars fan: fucking hate Star Wars.
Yeah.
You can't be a Star Wars fan without hating something
Yeah.
about Star Wars.
No, and like I have a lot of qualms with 7, 8, and 9. I don't know. They don't speak to me. I don't care about the characters. I feel like the directional choices were
But
questionable
I
at
feel like you would say
best.
the exact same thing about episode 1, 2, 3.
I think the problem with Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3 is that they let George do
Freedom.
the screenplay. The screenplay, basically,
Yeah.
is I wish I'm going to show my ignorance on some of this. As far as I'm aware, the screenplays for I don't think George Lucas even directed 5 and 6.
Oh, he didn't.
I'm
no,
fairly
I
confident.
thought he directed 6.
We
He
should
did
have
not direct 5.
These are the sort of details we should have looked up before filming. Everyone's watching is like, why don't you know this? But he directed 4.
Yeah.
But I don't think he wrote. I don't think he singularly had as much sway over
5 and
4, 5, and 6 as he did over
1, 2, and 3.
1, 2, and 3 because he was uber famous by the time 1, 2, and 3 came about. And I also think on 1, 2, and 3, he was very interested in digital
Yeah.
filmmaking, shooting things in digital, the use of blue screen, green screen, and that all comes through with varying degrees of success.
It just didn't age well.
Some of it, especially the
Especially episode 1 and episode 2. A lot of stuff really didn't age well. In
Yeah.
That being
those.
said, some of the acting was aged fine because, I mean, if you've got something that's rotten, it's not going to get worse.
Yeah. All right. So I also have a Star Wars controversial
ready.
take for this. I have told you this before.
Yep.
So my Star Wars controversial take is this, is that the best Star Wars content ever made.
Oh,
Was
no.
the first episode of Star Wars Visions.
No, that was really good though. The best Star Wars content ever made is The Mandalorian, specifically The Mandalorian Season 2. It is better than any of the movies.
Season 2.
Season 2. It is better than any of the movies. It is better than any of the TV shows. Granted, we talked a little bit about earlier that I haven't watched all the TV shows, but The Mandalorian Season 1, good setup, but it was very episodic. It was just like going here, going here, going here, going here. There was really no real connective story between all of it. There's small little things between Grogu and Mando.
Which I think was a deliberate decision, artistically, creatively.
But
Okay,
hold up. But the second season does a fantastic job of taking all of the stuff they built from the first season and making it worthwhile, type of thing. They went out and created a kind of comprehensive story of, hey, we need to find the Jedi for this little Force user that needs to go kind of do this type of thing. All of it just comes together so well. It is, number one, well made because it's newer type of thing. Good story, good cameos that show up in this throughout season 2.
I have to say, I think it's interesting you're saying this. I don't know if you could even, I'm just going to call you out here a little bit. I don't know how you could possibly even appreciate all the story threads they're tying together here if you haven't seen the Clone Wars and Rebels.
True.
however,
But think about
neither
this.
Francisco and I have seen all of the Clone Wars or Rebels, and yet we're still both in the agreement that season 2 of The Mandalorian
So
is
maybe
the
this isn't really a hot take.
Yeah, but that's what I'm like, is like, I appreciate that without all of the extra context.
Which is good.
I do want to make one point. So you specifically are saying season 2,
I'm more saying season 2
but I want to say season 2 would not be possible
without season
without
1.
the build up, the perfect execution of season 1.
Correct, but there are
Season
can-
2's better, hands down.
But that's why, because I can kind of understand some of the criticisms that people have about season 1. But I'm saying as a whole, for the entirety of The Mandalorian, I think it's the best altogether. But if I really had to narrow it down and say like, yeah, there is some stuff with season 1 that's just not as.
I think most of the we'll do some spicy hot takes.
Okay.
I think most of the critiques of season 1 basically boil down to it's moving too slowly for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I mean, that's fine. You're allowed to have an opinion, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I loved, you have moments where it's just Mando walking through some wasteland with a little baby. I don't think you have to have an hour and a half of snappy, witty dialogue and people punching people in the faces to make good anything.
I'd say that one thing I don't know where my thought just went.
All right.
It's all gone. It's all
gone.
out of there.
No thoughts, head empty. I think that we had season 1 had a lot of time to breathe for you to get comfortable with the character, for you to get comfortable with the universe, with the way they were going to tell the story. I don't think if they had just jumped right into the action, like boom, bam, big cameos in season 1, I don't know if you would have related to it as much.
You wouldn't have, because it's like you don't kind of build this relationship. It's like one of the biggest things of like the whole season 1 is like the relationship between Mando and Grogu type of thing.
Yeah,
moving forward, and it's like the child. And you are not going to be able to appreciate everything that happens in season 2 if you don't have that build up through the entirety of the first season. You said you remembered.
No. Yeah, so I got it. So one thing I kind of thought was, or I feel like the Mandalorian is up to this point the pinnacle of the Star Wars creative team acknowledging what we like about Star Wars and capitalizing.
Well, capitalizing, they sure are making their Disney Plus money.
But do you know what I mean? Like taking, like we've had a lot. Star Wars is a really interesting fandom because of the hate that every Star Wars fan has for Star Wars, because that makes it so the studios can see like, well, we've got all of this data of things that people don't like, and we can see the things that people don't complain about.
I sort of disagree. I don't think it has anything to do with them analyzing data and deciding what people like and dislike. This is something I feel very strongly about. Star Wars 7, 8, and 9 were directed. I don't know all the details of who wrote and did everything, but they were directed by J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson.
Yes.
I think Rian Johnson has the capacity to be an amazing filmmaker. I've loved some of his films. Knives Out was great. I can't think of anything I actually like by J.J. Abrams off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's some franchises he hasn't murdered.
Westworld season 1.
Really?
Yeah.
See? Loved that. But
And the first Star Trek.
neither of those two individuals are Star Wars fans. That's okay. They don't have to be Star Wars fans. But I don't think if you sat them down and we're friends with them and we're like, "Are you a Star Wars fan?" I don't think they'd say yes. I don't think they are Star Wars fans. And so I think that's kind of why, and maybe I'm wrong, but I sort of think that's why 7, 8, 9 are missing some
Feel
soul.
like Star Wars.
They don't feel like Star Wars.
Yeah.
There are things about Star Wars Episode 8 that are really good visually, cinematically.
That's always, like, from the moment I walked out of the theater, my problem with 8 was that I loved the cinematic things and I loved certain storytelling elements that they used. But then I also walked out of 8 being like, well, that didn't feel like Star Wars.
Now, if either of you watched the Disney Gallery, basically behind the scenes show for The Mandalorian?
No, because you told me to watch it, and so of course I'm not going to watch it.
Right, the classic.
Yeah.
I've seen the whole first season. I think there's a second season that's either airing now or has already aired. Every single person, or at least almost all of the people that worked on The Mandalorian season 1, are Star Wars fans. And you can tell by the way they talk about it. They're always like, Star Wars was so fundamental to me. Star Wars is what made me so excited about getting into this.
Yeah.
I'm going to butcher some of their names, so I'm sorry. Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni. Huge, maybe the Star Wars fan. He's a bigger Star Wars fan than me.
People love him.
Yeah,
now.
I know.
People are in
He's
love with
Peter
him.
Jackson / Stephen Colbert of Star Wars.
Of Star Wars. There's a deep cut there, but whatever. We're just going to keep going. The Marvel guy, whose name just fell out of my head.
Oh, Jon Favreau.
Jon Favreau. clearly passionate about Star Wars. I think you can feel very distinct visual differences between the different episodes. You know, some of them you're like, wow, yeah, this is a Dave Filoni episode. Wow, this is a Jon Favreau episode.
Dang, this is a Taika Waititi episode.
Right. And you can feel it, but they all are passionate about Star Wars.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, maybe the only person that worked on The Mandalorian that wasn't passionate about Star Wars is Bill Burr, and that's okay as long as he, you know, shoots a gun at aliens. And like that's all we really need him for.
I love Bill Burr.
Yeah, he's funny, but not a Star Wars fan. But that's
Yes.
okay because he's not writing and directing.
Yeah, he's just there acting. He's just doing what he's told.
And he does a great job. But I think for me that like boils down the differences in feel.
Okay, but was Alec Guinness a Star Wars fan?
No, but once again, he's not writing or directing.
Okay, fair.
Is Harrison Ford a Star Wars fan?
Absolutely not.
Harrison Ford is just an angry guy
He is the antithesis
that got
of a Star Wars
shoved into
fan.
acting. But that's okay because most of his characters are just angry guys.
I'll be real. When I brought up this topic, when I knew you were a Star Wars fan, I thought you'd be much more hesitant to I don't know if you necessarily agree that it's the best. Everyone likes The Mandalorian, but I'm specifically saying it's the best.
I think The Mandalorian, again, it takes the things that we love about Star Wars and then is like, you know what?
yes.
We're going to run with that.
I think The Mandalorian is some of the best Disney Star Wars. I mean, who's going to unironically say that 1977 Star Wars is the best Star Wars?
There's probably some people.
I mean, everybody? Nobody? Kind of both?
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you can't say it's bad. You can't say it's the best because neither are true.
Yeah. I really like Rogue One,
Same.
but it has a lot of shortcomings.
Yes.
I really
Um,
liked Solo.
I did too. I don't think Solo is as strongly Star Wars.
That was
whatever
go-
that means.
That was going to be one of my hot takes, is that I actually did like Solo.
Yeah. Solo's a decent heist action movie.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would say it's my favorite Star Wars.
No, I would have,
No.
if I was doing that hot take, I would have been just like, I liked Solo, which most people did not like.
Though I feel like most people didn't like Solo because most people were pissed off for some reason about episode 8.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I feel like Solo really got a finger up the ass largely because 8 was
So disliked.
Solo marks the end of Disney trying to put out a Star Wars movie every year.
yes.
Should
Yes.
they have done that? No, that was just them wanting money, and I think it was a disservice to all of us.
Yes.
I will say, I'm surprised we talked about The Mandalorian without anybody going on a tirade about the box thing they filmed in. This is because you guys don't watch the behind the scenes.
That's probably why.
Are you completely ignorant
it's
to
the
the groundbreaking?
it's the like IMAX stuff, right? Like the whole
No,
not IMAX.
not
It's,
IMAX.
it's like a whole like almost from the way I understand it, it's like a 3D rendering system type of.
They use walls that are relatively high resolution display panels and 3D real time rendering software. I think it's basically the Epic Game Engine.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's
ham-fisted-
Unreal Engine that
Yes.
they used.
Yes. Yeah.
It-
Unless I'm completely wrong, those are the same thing. Epic
Yes, it
owns
is.
Unreal.
Yes.
Yes. I think there's lots of pros and cons to it. I think it's great for TV
yeah,
because they can just like crank out. They're like, okay, cut to the desert. Okay, cut to a cantina.
and it's probably super helpful for the actors of like, hey, go imagine this thing that you're acting in this place, just doing it in front of a green screen. But
Yes.
now it's like, I can see all of this right here. I don't have to imagine this. I'm living it.
I think
It's cool. It's like green screen on steroids.
Absolutely.
I think filming on location is always going to be
The best.
the best. As
But from like a TV standpoint, that's not possible.
Correct.
Denis
And
Villeneuve,
especially with like something like The Mandalorian, where they're planet hopping, and the environments aren't. They'd have to like fly across the world for every single shot.
right? Recently, Denis Villeneuve described why they wanted to shoot Dune in the desert as they didn't film Jaws in a bathtub, and I think that's fair. But like you say, on a TV budget, can't
do
be
it.
on location every week. So
But for something that's going to be a feature film with a higher budget per minute of screen time,
Yeah.
I want it on location.
yeah. But I think it let them do a lot of cool stuff. The behind the scenes says that basically one of the reasons the Mando's armor is just shiny, instead of like painted a color, was to show off the fancy, because you can get really realistic natural-esque lighting
Yeah.
with the full screens surrounding you.
Oh, because like if you had a green screen, the armor would look, if it was shiny, it would look green
Yep.
and would disappear.
So they're kind of flexing that there.
Yeah.
We got cool stuff.
Yeah, they got cool stuff.
I mean, I feel like I was watching a video recently about something about film of some kind. I don't even remember what it was, but in which it was a video essay of some kind. They said they were talking. It was a Tom Scott video, actually.
Don't know who that is. Please continue.
I do know who that is.
You should know who Tom Scott is.
Okay.
Science education YouTuber, short videos, usually less than 10 minutes. Really good British guy. But he talked about why it was about a certain TV show. It's all coming back now. But a TV show that aired in Britain for a long time while he was growing up that inspired him to become a filmmaker. And part of what he said about it was that filmmakers like to show off.
Well, yeah.
And so like he was like talking about different intros to TV shows, and he's like, they could have done X, Y, or Z. And it could have been X, Y, or Z. But they didn't show off, so I don't think it was. Like, he was talking about, like, green screen versus on location. It's like, you can't tell. But
You can sometimes not tell.
well, I mean, I'm oversimplifying, but like, like things like that. That wasn't the example he gave. He gave something that was actually more specific and whatnot. But like, let's say green screen versus on location. You can't really tell, but if you're
That
on
is the
location,
hottest take of the episode. That is the hottest take. But
hey, no,
but we'll ride right past it.
It just depends.
I'm using it as a bad example.
Okay.
To demonstrate what he was saying. So fuck off. So green screen versus non-green screen. You can't really tell, but if you're on location, there are things that you can do to show off that you're on location.
True.
That you cannot do on a green
You
screen.
can get a sweeping desert vista shot.
Exactly.
That's going to look way better than.
So like one of the examples that he gave was they had a helicopter shot that like zoomed in on the host of the show. And like he's like, yeah, they were flexing that they were on location and that they weren't in a studio. And so they used a helicopter shot.
Right.
And so I don't remember quite where I was going with this. Where were we with Star Wars?
Disney, The Mandalorian's.
Mandalorian, new technology.
Shiny
Industrial
stuff.
light
Like, so
magic.
it's cool to see, because filmmakers, if they are using a technology, they're going to show you the technology they're using.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they're using the shiny armor is to say, like,
To flex.
it's to flex, but like it's also to show like this is cool new technology.
Yeah.
All right. You guys got any more? I got a few more controversial takes. I don't know how.
All right,
many more
do you have the
guys got.
spiciest? Let's get the spiciest out.
Okay. Okay. So I got 3 more on here. Should I just say the other 2 with absolutely like no
Yeah,
context?
and we're not going to
behind it?
argue. We're
And
just
we'll
going to let
just-
you.
we'll
'cause
just
we're-
agree
we're-
with you.
We're probably running a little low on time. So
All right. So here's one of them. The Office is overrated.
I don't think anybody's going to disagree with
It
you
is
on that.
good at best. There is a lot of people that will disagree. I don't know if you two will. There's a lot of people that will disagree with that.
Well,
you
unfortunately,
and I have talked about that, and we're not going to discuss this. We talked about that.
Correct.
But you and I have talked about that in the past.
This one, I think you guys would want to talk about, but it's not even my spiciest one. The Big Bang Theory is honestly not that bad. It's actually a pretty good show.
I was hoping you were going to say that it was terrible so we could just move on.
Nope. It's honestly not that bad of a show. That's
All right.
that's not even my spiciest opinion. Remember this.
We just said we're not going to talk about it, so we're not going to talk about it. But I'd like the record to show that I would if we had time.
Okay. So here is what I would deem.
Let's hear the
Again,
spiciest.
maybe not the spiciest with you, but definitely the spiciest with all of them. Because we have talked about this before. The ending / season 8 of Game of Thrones is not bad.
Oh my goodness gracious me.
We have talked about this before. Okay. This
Do you want
I'm
to present
done.
your
I'm
case? You have however long we decide.
Okay,
You
so
have.
for anyone that does not want Game of Thrones spoilers, this is going to be basically the last thing we talk about in the podcast.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for
can now
coming
leave.
here. I can't talk about
Goodbye.
Yeah, I was like,
Fuck off.
I can't talk about this, about why I don't think it's not bad, without spoiling stuff that happens in Game of Thrones. So if you want to see it and you haven't watched it yet, see you in episode 4.
But that being said, we really do thank you for joining us. And this is the one time when a content creator is going to be like discouraging you from listening,
remember
'cause
to like, favorite, and subscribe.
don't disservice yourself from spoilers of season 8 of Game of Thrones because it's worth it.
No.
Correct. See, Game of Thrones.
How is it worth it?
Game of Thrones. Okay, to me, I think Game of Thrones is still the best TV show of all time. That
Maybe-
might be another controversial take.
No
but-
one will probably argue Breaking Bad.
I think that's certainly a better contender. Okay.
Okay, let's go to season 8. All right, see you, everyone.
Cut.
Spoilers time.
For like leaving, not cut, actually.
There's
but,
nothing
like,
to
get outta here.
spoil.
Okay, so my take for season 8, and especially closer to,
Who
to the ending
hasn't?
stuff.
Who doesn't know how season 8 ends at this point?
There's probably a lot of people that don't still. But I think a lot of the problems people have, season 8 especially, and somewhat season 7, is more disappointing than bad.
Yeah.
It's entertainment. The whole point of TV is to entertain.
Okay, so my reasoning for this of why people think it's bad is that Game of Thrones, more than any other show of all time, had the most fan theories and things like that going on. There was so many people talking about stuff that happens in the books, talking about other things that they're predicting to have happen. People built up their expectations so much for all of these different cool things that could have happened.
Now,
Okay, so I do want to preface this by saying so Francisco, when did you start watching Game of Thrones?
I started watching Game of Thrones right before season 7. I binged the first 6 seasons about 3 or 4 months before season 7 came out.
When did you start watching?
2014.
So like season 4-ish?
Yeah, earlier.
Okay.
Okay, because I watched it all after the fact.
Yes.
So we're all coming at this from very different points. Now, allow me to strongly, if respectfully, disagree with you.
Okay.
And here's what I will say. I don't think it just has to do with things not going the way people wanted to. And I don't think it just had to do with things not going the way their elaborate fan theories told them things should go. I think a lot of it had to do with it not making any sense in universe or in any other universe. And allow me to elaborate some specific examples as
Okay.
to why.
Okay.
I think the best and clearest example, like I could literally talk about this for hours. We could stop this. We could cut back to the beginning, and we could do a whole podcast about me complaining about this for 2 hours.
Which is why I had this last,
But
because
for-
I knew we'd be on this
but
topic.
so like one crucial point in the last episode of Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Jon Snow, for his crime of killing Dany, is consigned to the watch, to the wall that does that. Okay, first of all, who is going to enforce that? His sister or his brother?
None of them are.
You're telling me that the army that is leaving the country forever, never to come back, is going to enforce it?
Okay. No one's going to enforce this.
I
Jon-
think part of what you're complaining about is that John wanted to be on the wall.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, no. Okay, pause. After seasons and seasons of the Starks being split up and then all of these different things about how they need to come back together and work together, what they're going to do is split up.
John didn't want
So
to
what?
have to deal with anything with this. Okay, people meme this a lot because it's it's probably his
I
most
don't
said line. He's
want
like,
it, and I never have.
I don't want it. He doesn't want this. Jon Snow had the best ending out of all of them.
I don't disagree that he didn't want power and to be in charge and all of that. But what exactly is the point of the wall and the watch other than being
Nothing.
a penal colony, basically?
Nothing. From this is my interpretation.
So he's just going to live in a hut.
Essentially, yeah. He probably is going to love
Oh.
that. John's probably going to love going and living with the wildlings for the rest of his life up there.
So you're telling me that after Arya Stark and Jon Snow, childhood siblings and best friends, are finally reunited, they're just like, yeah, peace.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Arya wants to go travel the world.
They
John
have they
doesn't.
want different things.
I mean, maybe.
Can you see Jon Snow and Arya like teaming up? Like, should we get like a
That would
spin-off-
be sick. That would be sick.
Should we get a
but
spin-off series
Not
of
that it
Jon
would be
Snow
sick.
and
I
Arya?
could see them happily living together in their childhood home until they die peacefully in their sleeps.
Hey, yo, do you want to live in your childhood home?
Well, I mean, maybe if everybody that's currently there is gone. I'm just kidding. I love you all to death. None of the political decisions that were made any sense. Why were the people that were making choices for all the entire world even there? Just because they've been characters in the show up to that point?
Are you talking about like them choosing the next king? Is that what you're mostly talking about?
Why are the people that were there? That is not how politics works. Especially in a world where it's been shown over and over again that the way political succession works is by basically force. And they all just decided to sit down and talk about it?
Because at that point, who are they opposing? The only people they're opposing are not the Dothraki, the Unsullied, who have Jon.
You're telling me that there were seasons of the Iron Islands being like, we want to be our own thing and we're going to literally fight to the death over it. And then they're like, yeah, all right.
Who's there to do that for the Iron Islands?
I'm saying who's there to stop them?
Yara.
And she just decided that her crusade is she actually didn't care about that. I'm just saying everybody's character motivations that were carefully sculpted over seasons, they just changed their minds. Now hold on, but wait, there's more. And frankly, I feel like the show started going downhill after season 4. So this is too hot of a take for the world. But you're telling me that Jaime Lannister are seasons of him changing his character. He's like, actually, I don't really care about any of that.
I do want to say Jaime Lannister's arc is my least favorite.
At some point,
however, Jaime Lannister is the embodiment of an addict.
Thank you. I was just about to bring this up. Thank you for bringing that, because people don't understand that. If you have known,
just because an addict is recovering doesn't mean they're going to not relapse.
No, okay, fine. But cinematically, was that the moment to do it?
Yeah.
I don't know that it highlighted it. I don't know that that's what came across.
It didn't, which is truly unfortunate for that it didn't.
And I think that's signs of bad filmmaking.
Correct.
If the character, it doesn't matter.
I don't disagree with the sentiment you're going for, but I feel like I feel like people judge season 8 too harshly.
I don't think that it has been judged harshly enough yet. I don't think any amount of shade or hate that they managed to shove in things like Clegane Bowl, but like it felt forced. It didn't feel natural. Yeah. It didn't feel well written. I didn't need that. Not if they're going to do it that way.
Yeah.
It didn't give anybody what they wanted. They literally just took the easy way out on everything instead of writing compelling stories.
Again, there is a lot of disappointing things that happened with season 8. My number one disappointing thing that happened in season 8 is the White Walkers and the Night King and all of that. I agree. To me, that is by far more disappointing than the whole end political stuff.
I mean, I don't know if you remember this, Noah, but when I watched episode 3,
I believe.
Yeah,
where like 3. Everything goes down. I'm like, wait, there's more? Like, I feel like the climax of the show should not have been Cersei versus Daenerys. It should have been the world versus the White Walkers.
I think that regardless, what I'm trying to get at is it's not that they didn't give people what they wanted. They tried to give people some of what they wanted. It's that it didn't feel compelling.
Yeah.
Did anybody want Ned Stark to die in like season 1, episode whatever?
No.
But it was compelling. It made you feel things. It was exciting. It was dramatic. And it had deep and meaningful impacts on the characters and the choices they made.
Absolutely.
Literally nothing that happened in season 8 fulfilled any of those criteria.
Maybe the directors just
sort of forgot about
started thinking about what do the fans want and like, how do we tie up every loose end that George R.R. Martin has fucked up and left in the freaking world?
I think that's the biggest thing for why I am
I think we should blame George R.R. Martin before we blame D&D.
And so that is one of the main reasons why
that doesn't mean it's good.
I never said it was good.
Well,
I said season 8 was not bad. That doesn't make it good. Again, George R.R. Martin sold off his rights to this show to HBO and I forgot the guy's names. D&D. I forgot what their actual
D&D.
names are. Sold it off for them to make it.
Danny and Dave for D&D.
But again, on the fact that he was going to finish his books by the time they got there. He released the 5th book in 2011. It is now 2021, and we have not gotten anything else.
I think we can make some concessions based off that. I don't think that gives them a pass for sloppy filmmaking.
The filmmaking was good.
They shot down a dragon with a crossbow on a boat, in one episode, and then later, when their city walls literally covered with similar, giant crossbow
They
things,
miss everything.
all of a sudden they can't land a shot. I mean, whatever, maybe that happens. They put the Grand Golden Army, which is like 4 guys and no elephants, whatever, in front of the city walls.
Again, yes.
They I don't know. Arya went through extensive secret ninja training. Why?
Okay.
Did you need face-swapping ninja training to stab a White Walker? Not really. I don't think it's not just that it's not satisfying. It's not just that it's not pandering as much as I would have liked. It's okay to not pander, but then it should feel realistic. It should follow some sort of logic.
Yes, I agree.
I think it's okay to do things because it's cool and flashy and cinematic, and I think it's okay to do things because it tells a logical, cohesive story. I don't feel like season 8 does either of those things well.
I agree.
Yeah.
Again, I
It
guess
doesn't make it bad.
Yes, it does.
I was like that's the main difference to me is that again, season 8 is disappointing because of what it could have been. People really complain about like, well, if they wanted more time to storytell, why didn't they just make more seasons? And it's like
They could have.
People
I feel the same way about The Hobbit.
They made too much of The Hobbit.
No, I feel like they weren't bad. I was just disappointed.
I think that means they're bad.
But okay, you said a little bit ago that you stopped liking a lot of things after season 4.
Yeah.
What happened after season 4?
The books ended.
Yeah.
Not all the book stuff, but D&D started having to create their own stories because
Yes.
there's nothing to tell. People didn't like it. The Dorne
Yeah.
storyline is one of the most hated storylines in all of Game of Thrones.
The only reason it's not hated on more
Is because of season 7,
yeah,
season 8.
I can give seasons 5 and 6 kind of a pass in hindsight. Like, okay, not bad.
I really like season 6.
6, there were things about 6 that I liked.
The last episode of 6 is my favorite episode still,
Same. For completely different reasons.
which is funny.
But people were shitting on them so much. Why would they sit there and been like, let's go and create our whole new storyline about how we
Yeah.
can finish this when everyone already hates all the stuff we're creating? So they're like, fuck this.
That's like kind of like a chicken and egg thing, though. Like, you're saying it got bad because it got hate. I'm saying it got hate because it was bad. And I think, to be fair, I think both are true to some extent.
I agree. Because again, they made the stuff in season 5. People didn't like it. And so they got, I'm kind of like putting myself in them shoes. They probably got really nervous for like, what are we going to do once we're totally done with all of this now? We have to create all these storylines. How are we going to get to the end? And so they really had one of 2 options. Either going all around and doing 3 or 4 entire seasons, trying to get to the end.
Or just phone it in.
Or just phone it in type of thing. And been like, we're going to try to speed run to the end because we know the ending. George R. R. Martin, whether people like it or not, Bran is the one who goes on the Iron Throne. George may change that now based on people's opinion, but that is what they were told.
We can only hope that he'll die before he finishes one so it can be left up in the air.
I hope that at least in the books they do a better job of having
Explaining
Bran.
it.
I think
That's another thing. Talking about, and it's not just that it didn't pay off the way I wanted it to. His storyline doesn't make any sense.
correct.
He learned to be a brain-traveling, time-traveling tree
Third-eyed
boy. Why?
It's a great question.
So that Tyrion can talk the United Nations of Game of Thrones into letting him be in charge for absolutely no reason.
No, not for no reason.
It's because he had a really cool
He had the
story.
best story.
Which is not even
who
true.
has a bread
It's
He
not.
sat in a tree for like, what, a whole season?
It's okay.
Is he like? I feel like there's a season where he just doesn't show up.
It is season 4. No, season 5. Sorry, he's just not in it. Okay.
And it was better for it.
Think about this. I have one change that will make everyone like Bran being the king. Imagine if Bran was just the most overpowered person in Game of Thrones.
No.
Where he's like, makes it back to Winterfell and he's like, all right,
Gandalf.
White Walkers are coming. We got to do this, and this, and tells everyone all of these different plans and leads the North to beating the White Walkers.
He could have, I don't know, warged into a dragon.
That would have been cool.
That would have been
Holy
cool.
shit.
He could have melted the Ice King's brains out of his head. He could have done literally anything.
Yeah,
What did he do?
Nothing.
Not
Other
much.
than, I guess, break Hodor's brain a couple seasons back and then get dragged around on a sled?
Well, he sat in the Godswood waiting for the White Walkers to come kill him, and then Arya did the work.
He was baiting Arya. That's what he was doing.
See, you guys don't like it either. You're just too afraid to say it.
No, again, I'm just disappointed, which I think disappointed actually worse than just being bad. But yeah, again, I like Game of Thrones. I still think is good. I think everyone should watch it. We just spoiled, everyone that's listening to this, we just spoiled all of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, if you made it to this point, I'm sure you have your own opinion.
Yeah, you probably already watched it yourself.
Please send us a lengthy tirade.
Of all of it.
Of
And
all of your hot
I want to
takes.
hear all of your opinions about why I'm wrong about The Office and Big Bang Theory's opinions too. I love having controversial opinions, and those are definitely controversial.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
bye.
Is that
Okay,
it?
bye.
That's how we close?
Yep.
Bye.